great. I'm no longer in doubt. I do get it back. Okay, their sort of credibility or their credit score with me goes up. And the same is true for corporations. Now, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and Google, I started each of those with a certain amount of respect. And they have done nothing but gone down in worthy of my respect.
What
now,
was it specific?
Why do I post at the other places? Well, Facebook, as I mentioned, their atrocious behavior, what they permit. Let me also share the account or the video I said before we started the podcast about Twitter and where they stand ethically and morally. Some time ago, not long ago, it was Twitter's 15th birthday. So there was a video that halfway through it, you get whiplash. It is such a twist. There's these different folks, some pleasant-looking folks in their mid to late 20s, if I had to guess. All different sexes, all different colors. It was a very well-produced video, and it's splicing between all of them. Happy birthday, Twitter. Happy birthday. You're 15 years old. Congratulations, you're 15 years old. I remember when I was 15 years old. Twitter, how do you plan on celebrating your 15th birthday? I remember what I did on my 15th birthday.
So this is what the video says.
Right. So this is the setup. So you're about 20, 30 seconds into the video. And you think it's going to be this nice praise of Twitter. What happens next is each of these 5, 6, 7 individuals, they say that, when they were 15 years old, somebody basically was sexually abusing them and taking pictures of them and posting it on Twitter. Now, everything I've said up to this point is unfortunate, but it gets worse. It gets worse because each of these people, now in their 20s, have begged Twitter to remove these photos. Twitter won't remove them. So, do I tweet anymore? No. I won't associate my name with Twitter anymore. And there are things just as reprehensible you can say about Facebook and about Google and about YouTube with what they permit. So to answer your question, I wasn't avoiding your question, but why do I post to Odyssey and BitChute? Well, I like to think I have the freedom to post online. And so that's sort of among my best option right now. I used to like the platform DLive, but they too have placed more and more restrictions on their users now.
But can I just ask a question? Okay, you're not arguing. You want no restrictions, but you wish there were restrictions against these bad people that were on Twitter.
Well,
so where's that balance?
I would never say I want zero restrictions for a public forum.
Okay.
Now, for a private forum, I don't have to set policy for that, but okay, like child sex trafficking, okay.
Okay.
Right. So, and our country has laws about that. Our country has laws about free speech. And if you take a look at information that's being banned, if you take a look at books that you can't buy or sell on Amazon, including Dr. Frickin' Seuss. So,
oh, yes.
I don't know when it's going to get bad enough for some people. So, we will be back in just a couple minutes. I'm going to lead off a big list of news organizations who have been forced to print retractions and why I don't think they're worthy of your trust. Thank you. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the third and final segment of this installment of Andy's Philosophy Corner. I'm Chief Philosophical Officer Andy Hoke. This is brought to you by the Steel Plaza Podcast, and today we are joined with us one of our regular listeners, Raeann, and we are speaking about new media, the rise of new media and how new media may be taking over. I wanted to quickly include one other aspect that, or a more complete answer to what you had said before about Odyssey. I'll just talk about them specifically. Something I love about Odyssey, Raeann, is that just by watching content, you earn cryptocurrency. So you earn cryptocurrency just by watching videos. It's their own cryptocurrency, which you can accumulate. You can turn into cash. You can turn into anything else. Now, it's not going to be your full-time job. They don't pay you that much, but your attention is worth something, and you can give it away for free. You can, but instead what you could do is actually generate cryptocurrency for just doing something you're already doing, which is seeking out content that you like. And instead of just being subjected to ads, which you are the product, you're not the customer when you're sitting there watching ads. And your attention is valuable, and these sites, one way or another, do reward you for that. And I think that's an amazing advent.
Do you find that builds your trust in them more than other avenues of regular social media?
Well, yes. I think it's also...
And why?
Well, I think it's the new way that people are consuming content, and it's better. It's better. And versus when we were kids and only had a few stations, and if you wanted to see a show, you had better tune in at the right time. You had better arrange your life around it. But things have improved so much. Imagine if you watched a TV station for several hours a day, and at the end of the month you had $5 or $10 that you earned just by watching TV. That's kind of unthinkable, but that is what you get when you watch videos on Odyssey or on BitChute or on any number of other good platforms. And something I have to include here, since we're talking about the rise of new media, is the decline of the old media. The decline of old media, as well as some other newer media types. And I'll tell you exactly what I mean. Now, if you're relying on a certain information source, if it's a station or if it's a website or if it's a broadcast of any kind, really, that's presenting itself as news, something you can afford to be choosy about is avoiding sources of information that have been forced to print retractions. So I'm going to read off a partial list of mostly well-known news sources that just within the past year have been forced to print retractions.
Which retractions meaning they posted something, they wrote something that was later proved to be false.
Yes.
Okay.
It was proved to be false in a court of law, and specifically under civil law in the United States, if somebody prints something false about you, it is considered libel. I forget what it's called when it's verbal. It's just verbal. There's libel and there's anyway, it doesn't matter. But here, dear listeners, here is a partial list of information sources that have been forced to print retractions over the last year. The Atlantic, ABC, Bloomberg, Business Insider, CBS, CNN, The Daily Beast, The Daily Mail, Fox News, The Guardian, BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, The Journalist Inquirer, New York Daily News, New York Times, Politico, Raw Story, Salon, Slate, Snopes, The Washington Post, The Washington Times, Yahoo News, and Young Turks. And if I can, I'd like to read through that list once more before we end the podcast. If you are getting your information from any of those sources, you could do better. It is part of the reason this subject is the focus of this. So
that means they didn't get their facts straight before they posted something and let others believe in a truth that wasn't true. And that's a problem.
Well, not only that, But the fact that a court forced them to print a retraction also means that someone found it. Someone shortly asked The Atlantic, ABC, Bloomberg, Business Insider, CBS, CNN, etc., asked them to remove it because it was false. They refused. So that means that the plaintiff then said, okay, well, I've asked you to correct or remove this false information. I've asked you to do it. You refused to do it. Therefore, I'm going to involve the courts because of libel. When it's verbal, it's slander. So if you hear the words libel and slander, libel means it's something in print. Slander means it's something verbal. So not only did they not get their job right before it went through an editor, before it got published, not only did they get it wrong, when it was brought to their attention that they got it wrong, they refused to do anything about it, and it was only under the threat of the courts, of a court order, that they eventually did that. So every single one of these organizations went through that same process. They published something false. They were asked to bring it down. They did not. And it was only when a court case was brought and a verdict was rendered that they were forced to do this. Now, to me, that's not a good source of information. And you don't have to pay attention to those places anymore. It's an enormous internet. It's an enormous internet. And there are new content creators popping up every single day. So thank you for did any sources surprise you on that list, Raeann?
I have to be honest, nothing surprised me, which is sad. But in no way, shape, or form are we, advertising for any kind of website or any kind of social media or any kind of avenue. We're just saying that there are choices out there.
Yes.
And there is much more information that you could possibly know. And when you think something's wrong, you feel something's wrong, figure something else out, because there are possibilities out there.
Yes. People have choice. People have so much choice. And I think everyone is better off when you have more choices. After all, isn't that the difference between a communist regime and a free market? Is you have choices. Right. In the Soviet Union, the old Soviet Union, we saw pictures of people waiting in line to get bread, to get food, to get anything. So your choices are kind of limited. If you want bread, get to the end of the line, and you might wait an hour. You might wait hours and hours to get your bread. And that's also kind of a meme. It says the difference between communism and capitalism. And it showed the top pictures of bread line, people standing in line. And the bottom picture was just a regular supermarket with dozens or hundreds of loaves of bread there lining up for you. People lined up for the bread under communism. The bread lines up for you under capitalism. And so think of it as the same way with information. Suppose there was only one grocery store and it was limited. Maybe it only sold 2 or 3 types of bread. But now, just across the street from that supermarket is a mall with 1,000 different bread stores where you can get your bread. And maybe your old store was your favorite. Maybe you have lots of pleasant memories there. But sometimes it's moldy. Sometimes they're out. Sometimes the price is higher than you think it should be. They don't have the varieties that you'd like. There's any number of reasons to go to a new food market. And if you use that analogy of bread with information, I think it makes perfect sense. I like my own analogy. Boy, is that... I'm sorry if I seem a little bit off today. I'm wearing this is my regular toga. This is a loaner. My regular toga is in the shop. So... you
get that from Zeus or... I'm not sure.
No, it's one of these...
It's real nice.
It's one of these off... Well, I mean, it's okay. It's a loaner, though, and, other people have been wearing it, and there's a couple cigarette burns in it and stuff, It smells a lot like horseradish for some reason. So I wanted to sort of try and start to bring this around and wrap it around because we only have so much time. I think you're